Hi, David Kirsten here with week number 4, PA 623 Screencast. Thanks for joining me or watching the recording in the case to most folks. Um, Wanted to go over some important things for housekeeping first. We're going to look at a recap of Module 3, Intro to Module 4, which goes along with this housekeeping. Um, few brief words about current events. Wanted to talk about economic fundamentals, and then last thing, how to research economic statistics and data. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Housekeeping. The most important item is that the midterm has not been unlocked yet. I'm, talking to the department about how to unlock that. I will email that out to you when it's available, hopefully later today, definitely Thursday at the latest. And I am looking at giving an extension on that. So, time won't be as much of an issue. Don't worry about the Monday night deadline. I'll have instructions about what the deadline will be. And if you need an extension, that's fine too. So, right now, if you go into the module, there's actually an issue um, where the midterm just doesn't come up. It says, okay, on module 3, here's the midterm. It says select 3 of 7 questions, but then you go and the questions aren't there. So I got to get that unlocked. I'll let you know when that's done. Another thing came up. Some folks were concerned about grading. Um, I've just graded the module number 1. I will try to get caught up here fairly quickly in grading. Um, Most common thing for deductions is just not answering all the prompts or kind of trying to just skate through with not putting enough information. The those two big assignments are, I'm going to grade fairly lightly. So if there is a major issue, you're not going to see huge deductions. If it was, not your fault as a result of something not being clear, I'm going to say, well, hey, you misunderstood this, and give you a chance to do that. So, if you put in the time and effort, nobody's going to fail this course. I know it's a new thing. There's kind of a lot being thrown at you in these modules. Just try to hang on, and I'll keep in close touch about things as we have issues with them. And again, I feel there are some areas where this course needs to be revised to make it as clear as possible what's expected for you of those assignments and this issue with the private public agencies. So, I'm going to work to get that corrected, and I'll keep making notes. I think what's important is to understand, the difference in the paradigms for public-private agencies. We're focusing really on public agencies in this course, but in economics, it's important to understand both and be able to compare and contrast the two. So look for my email on the midterm. I'll send you that out when it's ready. Again, don't worry about that Monday deadline. I'll likely probably give you another week, so it'll be due, a week from Monday, given the delay. So that would be a week from Monday. Um, it's gonna be the 23rd. So you're gonna have some time on that. Um, Recap of Module 3, second item on our agenda. There was a lot of readings here. I told you the kind of key readings to do. Um, this public choice theory. I'm curious if folks thought that was useful or if they thought that was just too academic. I do think see some value in public choice theory, but I don't know that a quick introduction is going to really, do it justice. And this is one part I'm just curious if people find this interesting or useful. I thought that the discussion posts that I read thus far were very good. So, I think it's a pretty big field in economics. Um, and, it's important to know what it is, what it's about. But, in the context of public agencies, I just don't know that it adds a lot to your, theoretical, toolbox. So, anyway, the S curve, I thought that article on the introducing the S curve was good. I know this kind of gets us into a bit, technical economics, um, and I thought folks did okay with the discussions from what I read. So, I'll leave it at that. Module 3, I think, um, went okay as far as I know. So if I see anything else, I can come back and recap. So module 4, just looking ahead, a little bit lighter on the readings as a midterm assignment. Try to get caught up on the textbook if you are behind. Here's where the midterm assignment link will be. See, if you click next, it doesn't go to it. So that's the issue. So I'm going to either put it on this page or a new page when it's unlocked, and then I'll also email it out as well, so you have that. But please complete the assignment actually in the module, just for grading purposes. So stay tuned for that. There's not much else in the module except for a few other discussions on monetary policy. The Federal Reserve and monetary policy is a key kind of prong of economics to know about. We're going to actually look at the financial crisis. I think I'll try to do it next week, so I'll talk more about monetary policy and the Fed then. But so this is just a quick introduction to that. Okay, then this last question about an uneven distribution of wealth. And this is another key theme in politics, about the concentration of wealth in the top 1% and what's driving that. So people write whole books on that. This is introducing that is a key concept to you. And I can say more. I'll put that on my list to discuss in office hours: inequality, income inequality. All right. That's it. The main thing for module 4 is getting that midterm to you ASAP, which I will take care of. Current events. This is the last week of the session for the California legislature. So they are going to be considering a whole slew of bills. We're going to see what comes out of these various bills. There's been some deals cut supposedly, but it's still unclear if those are going to get through the legislature. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'll let you know what kind of comes out of that. um I was going to just say a few words about the economy in the 2020 election. So, if folks have followed the 2020 election, they know that the economy is perhaps the biggest overarching issue. And, economics and the economy, or, economics supposed to be essentially the study of the economy. I think some of this academic uh, work gets a little bit too far into the weeds, and that you lose kind of the bigger picture of economics. So, that's what I'm going to try to pull out in some of the things we're going to talk about today. But I just want people to realize that this 2020 election is really driven by economics and economic proposals. It's essentially, political economy. So if you look at the contenders that are doing better, on the Democratic side, I would argue it's in large part about their ability to talk about the economy in a way that resonates with voters. Elizabeth Warren, um, Bernie Sanders, probably to a lesser extent. I think Elizabeth Warren is actually a better communicator for a, pared back list of what folks generally consider to be some of Bernie's ideas. And, Joe Biden, I just don't see him as that effective of a spokesperson on economic issues. I mean, folks can let me know what they think about Biden if they've seen any of his events, but he's supposed to be the moderate in the race, which is meaning we're not going to have more of these sweeping government proposals. He wants to, for example, fix Obamacare instead of moving to single payer health care. So it's kind of a hybrid proposal that's supposed to address the healthcare issue, expand coverage, but not go to full socialized medicine. Um, so the nature of the primary, people get pulled to the left because that's where most of the energy is in the Democratic voters in the primary. So you have the left flank is Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and I if I had to pick right now, based on the polling, it looks like Elizabeth Warren, has probably the strongest shot, but it's still early. And some of those other candidates like Kamala Harris or, even Biden could hang in there. I just don't see how he wins the Democratic nomination, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents based on my career in politics, and just wanted to let you help you see a few of the connections to economic issues in the 2020 campaign. um okay, the one thing I didn't mention that we are going to look at is sourcing techniques, that I wanted to look at now. I know it's come up. I tend to grade folks better who put sources in, who make a clear use of sources. um I think I've seen some folks use sourcing more effectively than others. I think what I'd like to see with sourcing is that you pick a system and then you stick to it. um oh, this is the master here, so I got to go into. So that can either be footnotes, what's called the Chicago style, or the MLA, which is in-text citations. I've used them both more or less. I think the in-text is easier to kind of get up to speed with. And, there's various other sources out there. Um, Sources for sources. So, I have several books on sourcing. Let me just take a quick look at what folks have done and kind of what I'd like to see. Let's just pull up the public choice discussion here. Okay, so yeah, Brett, he didn't put it, and he had some in-text sources, which is fine. And I know the books and the works, so you don't necessarily have to, you know, put the book if you do the in-text. I know what that is, so that's great. I think um, here's page number of the book. So it's more kind of informal. It's definitely better than no sourcing. I guess what I'd like to see you use is get in the habit of doing more sources like this, where you actually have the reference as a footnote or in-text citation, where you actually have the author, the year, the title of the publication, the outlet, and then if there is an online link, if you can put that. Where people get into trouble is a lot of folks just are putting these online links and that's it. And we'll start making deductions at some point, just because that's too informal. This is academic work. We actually need to have the author, the title, the outlet, the year. If you look at either manual of Chicago style, or you can do a quick search online here for, let's just type in MLA citation format. And there's actually some great resources. Here's an MLA handbook, just on how to do it here. Let me see if there's a better website here. There's books, but then there's kind of online books here. What is MLA? What is sourcing? Here's how to do it. um, if you have one author, if you have two authors. And I'm not going to deduct for all this kind of, if did you leave out a period, did you reverse the author's names, just try to use this. And if you're just learning how to do it, as long as you made an effort to do an in-text citation, I'm not going to make a deduction. The essentials of it is that you put the author's name or the work and then the page number in parentheses after the source. And then later in the appendix or the works cited, you actually have the author's names written out, the title, the work, the outlet or where it was published, and the year and the pages. But how you kind of format all that, I'm not concerned about that. I know this might be the first time you've been asked to do in-text citation, so I don't want to turn you off. I just want you to, be introduced to it. I think this is a great website, webpage, bibme.org/MLA. So that's MLA. That's the one I'd recommend because it is the easiest, and it's almost, equally or even more common than the Chicago style. So there's the Purdue Writing Lab here on MLA, which is another good resource. I've actually used this page a lot. So owl.purdue.edu. So just look up the Purdue Online Writing Lab for MLA style. Here's Chicago style, which is the other one that I'm, and there's several others here. So the Chicago style, I'd say, is more complicated from what I've uh, learned about it. And I tend to stick with MLA because that's what I know. But you're welcome to use any of these other sources or your own source system. I just want to see more than just the link. Okay, that's that for that agenda item. And now I'd like to shift to something called what I'm calling economic fundamentals. And because of, um, as I've mentioned in this course before, we are looking at economics really as it pertains to public agencies. I did want to raise, what the actual fundamentals of economics are. If you take just many of you have probably had a economics 101 course or something similar, a microeconomics or macroeconomics. And what they teach is totally different from this course because this is economics for public managers. So, but it's important to kind of be introduced to what, um, kind of economics, formal economics is. I would say that, couple good sources I have here. Let's see here. One great book I've found, a textbook from that free course over at Stanford, is called Principles of Economics version. This is a John B. Taylor in 2017. I really like this textbook because it has a lot of public policy examples in it. I actually haven't taught from it, but I'm looking at doing so in the future. And, really a intro to economics as a field, getting into some of the basics of the demand curve, supply curve, efficiency of markets. So, I've picked up dozens of economic textbooks, and they all they don't have usually all of these, but they have a lot of these things. So, it's kind of like where you focus, and we're not getting into all these nitty gritty of all the economic terms, but there's chapters on fiscal policy, monetary policy, international trade, international finance. So I'm just trying to show you that the field of economics is broad, and if you do, um, want to continue on with your studies in economics, this might be a good place to start. I have another resource too to explain this stuff. So, this is a great outline of just kind of what is basic economics, what are the fundamentals of economics as they pertain to public policy. Another good book I've found that's even probably written more for the lay person, or um I would say it's a great resource for somebody new to economics, Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, um third edition. He's over at Stanford Hoover Institution, a very famous economist, and this book first appeared in '07. A lot of the content in the chapters are the same, but you don't really have the same focus on math in this. It's more of writing out kind of what is economics, why is it relevant, what are the key concepts, supply, demand, um, the market efficiency, market. So, there's a lot of ways to kind of splice and dice economics, and I'm one of my main goals is to develop the best way to teach it, both public policy but also to public managers. And that's why some of these early exercises make me a little leery, in that I don't want to turn folks off to economics as being something that has to be too complicated, that has to be difficult to understand and use, that is hugely technical and just almost not relevant to your weekly work, your daily work. That's actually not the case. The problem is that the whole field of economics has gotten so technical, such a large part of it, that you really lose the basic fundamentals that I think Sowell puts in this textbook. There's been hundreds of textbooks written over the years in economics, and if you go back to the textbooks in the first part of the 20th century, they look a lot more like this than what you see these days with Krugman's textbooks on macro and microeconomics. Just this huge emphasis on mathematical formulas and curves, and I just don't think you need all that to grasp the fundamentals of economics. In fact, I think it turns people off from getting more engaged in economics, and that's a shame. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Let me know if you do want any more recommendations about resources, to get the fundamentals of economics down. Did want to just say a few words about how to research economic statistics and data. Um, get my mic stored away here. So one great resource is called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a federal bureau. There's also Bureau of Economic Analysis, and I'm familiar with both of these, and they have tons of great resources on really all this data that is run by technical economics. So, technical economics really made a rise in about the 1930s, and then really took off in the 1940s, 50s, and beyond. That's where the government started collecting all this economic data, and then economists go in and crunch all these numbers and run a bunch of analyses. I'd say the other good resource to look at is the Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA, which actually tracks a number of they track GDP by metro area, by county, by industry. You have um, numbers on income, real household income, employment, and it's all broken down by even going down to local government or metro area. So in California, another good place is the California Department of Finance, California Legislative Analyst Office. They present things on economic data. Let's just go to the Department of Finance, see what's on there. A lot of it's on the budget, but they do have forecasting, economics. You can sign up for their email newsletter on what they're taking in. A lot of their economics is as it relates to state revenues for state government sources. Another one, the LAO, the California Legislative Analyst Office, puts out a lot of publications. I think a great place to start is CalFax. A lot of this is budget related, but it is have some information on the economy and demographics and housing, income, everything. The other good source in California is the EDD, which I'd say probably has the most information. um, I won't say best because it really depends on what you're looking for, but it has kind of the most traditional economic information on local markets, local market areas, employment development department. So we're probably some things in the newsroom. I was EDD data library. I think that's where I found it. There's a lot of big reports on here, data sets. You can run numbers on these different areas, all data, regional economic profiles. So just want to let you know that all these types of statistics were here. If you do, get into economics further, folks create these hypotheses and then you test them using economic data. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. I'll be on email. I still have to get back to a few of your emails, get caught up on some of the grading, then I'll get you that midterm ASAP. So thanks for listening. David Kirsten signing off.